So if you're looking for a way to cover long-term care expenses, and yet you're worried about being able to be covered by a long-term care policy, maybe getting declined by underwriting or something of that nature, this video is absolutely for you. Now, what we're talking about today is actually a couple client stories. In the past 2 weeks, we've had several clients come into the office looking to secure long-term care insurance. And unfortunately, long-term care insurance can be difficult to obtain. We had one client denied because they recently had a knee replaced. We had another client declined because they had shoulder surgery. We had another client declined because they failed a mini mental exam. And there's all kinds of reasons that long-term care insurance companies don't like to provide long-term care coverage. It's extremely expensive. Underwriting is very tough. And so this sent us down this path of, well, how are we going to help these clients pay for their long-term care expenses, knowing that they are not going to qualify for a long-term care policy? And so we started doing research on this, and we actually found some phenomenal ways to cover long-term care expenses using annuities. And then a crazy thing started happening. We started bringing up this idea to clients, and just last week, we mentioned this idea of using an annuity to help pay for long-term care insurance. And before we could even tell the clients what it was that we were proposing, the wife says, "Is this an annuity?" And we were like, well, actually, yeah, it is an annuity. And she said, because Dave Ramsey hates annuities. And that kind of struck me as odd, because how could anyone hate anything that solves some very obvious problems? But it also sent me down a path of, well, what's with this bad blood towards these annuity products that are so obviously, to me, solving a big need and a big problem? And so I started doing research on why is it that people have these weird, bad feelings towards annuities. And so I figured I'd share that journey with you today, and also share the case study of these particular clients and why ultimately they ended up buying an annuity. So here we go. So since a lot of the kind of bad blood towards annuities started with this idea that Dave Ramsey doesn't like annuities, I thought, well, let me just check out Dave Ramsey's site and see what he has to say about annuities. I don't know. I don't listen to Dave Ramsey. I don't even listen to the radio. So I have no idea what Dave Ramsey thinks about annuities when I start this journey. And so I figured I'd find out. So I found this article. It's on his website. What is an annuity and how does it work? Now, the first thing that's obvious to me when I look at this article is it appears to be written by artificial intelligence. And you can just kind of tell by the language that's being used, but whatever, it's on his website. People read his website. He's responsible for what's up there, whether AI wrote it or not. So what does it say? It says putting an annuity together is a lot like ordering a burrito at Chipotle. Just not as tasty. All right. In exchange for your premium, you can choose to receive a payout from your annuity for the rest of your life or a specific amount of time. Okay, yeah. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, not so fast. That's pretty much where the good stuff ends. Okay. I love this. We'll get into all the downsides later, but we'll just tell you right now, annuities aren't worth your time. The low rate of return won't even keep up with inflation. Really? Okay. Stay away. Stay away. You can do much better with good growth mutual stock funds that have a 10 to 12% rate of return over time. When it comes to a fixed annuity, there are no benefits. Oh my gosh, just don't. There's never, ever a case where fixed annuities are the best option. Zilch, zero, big goose egg. Okay, I'm beginning to see why people would feel like, is this an annuity? Does Dave Ramsey not know that pensions are essentially annuities? What's happening? Now, there are some benefits to having a variable annuity, but they don't outweigh the cons. What are the downsides of an annuity? Annuities are bogged down by a lot of fees that cut into the return on your investment and keep your money tied up. If you want to get your hands on the money you've put into an annuity, it'll cost you. Does he have any idea what an annuity actually is? Annuities have way too many fees. Guys, there's probably, 30 annuities out there that have zero fees. So what's he talking about? Annuities probably won't keep up with inflation. Annuities are hard to transfer. Annuities are confusing. All right. Okay, so I get it. I guess I get it. If this is, well, what are these pros and cons? Steady stream of income, lengthy surrender periods, no contribution limits, can't keep up with inflation. Death benefits offered with some variable annuities and fixed annuities. Hello, Dave. Hefty hidden fees, lack of control, frustrating and confusing. No real advantage over Roth 401k or Roth IRA, just more fees. If this is the stuff that people are reading, I totally get why you would hate annuities. Are annuities ever a good idea? For most people, an annuity just doesn't make sense. While guaranteed income is great, you have way more earning potential with mutual funds. Okay, yes, that's of course, but where's the mention of risk? How can you talk about returns without talking about risk? Talk with a professional. Oh, here's a link to SmartVestor Pro, of course. All right, so obviously I'm reading like Dave AI, which is fine, whatever. But I wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth because he obviously didn't write this. And so I went ahead and I watched this video that talks about annuities and like what they are. And, it's more of the same. It's exactly what you would expect someone to say that has this article on their website, just full of inaccuracies, full of misdirection. And so, here we are. I understand why people don't like annuities if they're listening to people like Dave Ramsey. And I assume there are others out there that spout off these talking points. But I guess what I want to do is I want to circle back to the reason that one of our clients last week decided to purchase an annuity. And it has nothing to do with anything that we read in these articles. I mean, Dave says that there's no reason ever, zero, zilch, goose egg to buy an annuity. But let me just tell you why one of our clients did. It was the couple that came into our office. They were looking for a way to cover long-term care expenses. His brother is currently in a long-term care facility, and they're paying $10,000 a month for his care. Now, they're wealthy individuals. They have a mutual fund and stock portfolio worth about $4.5 million. And so they're obviously well off, and they've decided to self-insure for their own long-term care. Well, that was before they started paying $10,000 a month for his brother. So they came into our office and they said, hey, we underestimated this whole long-term care situation. We're paying $10,000 a month for my brother to be in a long-term care facility. I was going to self-insure, but man, if it's going to cost me that much, I'd rather do something else. And the problem is he failed a mini mental exam, which means he's not getting a long-term care policy. So we went through kind of all their statements, we went through all their other policies, and we actually found a hidden gem that made this whole conversation of talking about annuities super easy. They had an old, like 40 years old, whole life insurance policy. Now, I believe that Dave Ramsey also hates whole life insurance, but we'll just set that aside for a second. They had an old whole life insurance policy that they'd had for 35, 40 years. It had about a $600,000 death benefit, and it had a $400,000 or $500,000, I think it was about $500,000 cash value inside the policy. Now, if you're familiar at all with some of these old whole life insurance contracts, you would know that they didn't have some of these new kind of liquidity riders that exist in today's world. So like now, insurance companies have little riders on their contracts that will say, hey, if you qualify for this chronic illness benefit or this long-term care rider, you can access your death benefit early to help pay for care. That exists now. It didn't exist 40 years ago, and that policy didn't have any of those riders on there. Furthermore, the loan provisions on the policy, if he wanted to use the dollars in that contract and loan it out to help pay for his long-term care expenses, they were going to charge him 7.5% to take a policy loan. Well, that doesn't make much sense. The policy's earning maybe 3.5%. So we had this old whole life insurance policy. They don't need the death benefit. They've got a $4.5 million portfolio. Their house is paid off. They don't have any debt. Like they're totally fine from a death benefit standpoint. They want to cover long-term care expenses. And so what we did is we went out into the marketplace and we found an annuity product that's going to guarantee them an income and double the income for 5 years if they have a long-term care episode, specifically if they can't perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, which is a very similar definition to a lot of long-term care policies. And so I'd like to show you what it looks like, and you tell me if there's never, ever, zilch, goose egg reasons to buy an annuity. So I've pulled up on the screen here the annuity that they ultimately chose, and I've hidden the carrier information for a couple reasons. Number one, there's a bunch of different annuities that have these exact same benefits and features, and this is not a video about a specific company. This is a video talking about a reason that you might actually consider an annuity that someone like Dave Ramsey has never even dreamed of, obviously. So here we go. He's 75. His wife is 73. We're taking $500,000 from his life insurance cash value, and we're moving it over into this annuity. It moves without taxes. It's very seamless. It happens behind the scenes. It's non-qualified, being that it's coming from a life insurance policy. They're in the state of Georgia. Now, what we've done is we've made this a joint payout annuity, which means once we turn on the income, it's going to pay as long as one of them is still living, no matter what, guaranteed. Okay, so that's the nature of this annuity. It's fully guaranteed. Yes, there are fees in this one. It's fully guaranteed. It pays as long as one of them is living. We're showing that it's going to start to pay in the 6th year, and I'd like to show you why they ultimately chose this policy. So what we're looking at are the guaranteed values on this particular contract. We talked about it being $500,000 up front that moves over. And the sole purpose is we got declined for long-term care coverage. We're spending $10,000 a month for my brother. I was going to self-insure. I'd rather not. And I have this old whole life insurance policy that's not going to do anything for me until I'm dead. What can we do? And his wife was particularly interested in this topic because she's going to be the one that's going to have to really facilitate the care of her husband. So here's how it works. The $500,000 moves over, and we're not going to turn on the income until he actually needs care. And when he does, we're going to get $120,000 per year. That's if he starts it in the 6th year. The longer he waits, the more it will be, but we're just projecting a year 6 income turn on, just gauging by his health and kind of his trajectory. A year 6 turn on, his income guaranteed for 5 years is $120,000. Now, that's actually pretty easy math. That's $600,000 out of this annuity in a 5-year time span, which is $100,000 more than the cash value on their current whole life insurance policy. Now, is it tax-free? No, it's not. It's not tax-free, okay? But we got $600,000 out guaranteed for 5 years. That's exactly what they need to pay for long-term care for him. And guess what? After 5 years, it doesn't just go away. After 5 years, the $120,000 payment gets cut in half to $60,000, and it's going to continue to pay out as long as one of them is still living. So let me ask you the question. You've got an old whole life insurance policy with some cash value. Maybe you've tried to get long-term care and you can't because you've been declined. Is this not a complete no-brainer of an option to solve the problem of long-term care that you came in to solve? It is, and that's why they decided to purchase it. And when we showed it to them, their reaction was, oh my gosh, the people that we've been reading saying there's no reason to buy an annuity surely haven't seen one like this. And we said, exactly. And this isn't the only type of scenario where an annuity can make a lot of sense. We already talked about in a previous video where there's a lot of annuities that don't even have fees. So if you're online doing research about anything, annuities, life insurance, long-term care, and you're listening to people that are saying things like always and never, I'm going to suggest that you should find someone that has a different opinion. There are specific problems that can be solved with specific solutions, and this is just one example. Now look, this isn't the only reason to buy an annuity. This is just one example of some of our clients who decided to pursue an annuity for the purpose of helping them solve their long-term care expense issue. Is this long-term care insurance? No. Should it replace long-term care insurance? No. But if you're someone who's looking to solve the problem of increasing long-term care expenses and you cannot qualify for a long-term care policy, which is very typical, there are solutions for you. You just have to work with someone who knows what those solutions are. And if that's you, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. You can do so by going to our website, leveragedwm.com. We'll link it in the description below. And also, if you're interested in learning more about how annuities could be a fit, we're probably going to continue to explore this series because it's obvious to me that there are a lot of people out there saying things like always and never, 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 ever, ever, for any reason under the sun, zilch, buy an annuity. And there's a lot of reasons that people buy annuities that make a whole lot of sense. And so we'll be exploring that over the coming weeks, months. It might take us a year. But if this client example sounds like you, I just encourage you to start a conversation with us. We would love to help you out in this area. Take care.